there was no time in the last thousands of years that was ever particularly like this, which is why it always feels to me that this conversation that even we're having right now through the internet, the fact that people are able to do that means something may be coming to a head. Something is not like it was before. And that difference to me is always fascinating, especially like Cowboy. I'm sure you could elaborate on all of this various secret knowledge that is finally coming online when it comes to various chants and things like that.
Yeah, well, it's everything. It's not even just the occult. It's okay. Look at COVID. Look at Zoom classes. Look at universities. How much longer can they
UBI?
Yeah. How much longer can they keep the university system going when everybody's just going to a virtual room like this, like right now, like what we're in, Zoom? All that stuff can be recorded and posted online. So university is effectively done because.
And Twitter autists can do it better than professors.
We're the university now.
Someone was telling me that it's not really the lectures; it's going on YouTube and looking up explanations.
No, it's true. When I TA'd, I remember even before this, you'd have portions where it was just YouTube lectures, and then I would have to like officiate tests. That would pretty much be it. So it was weird.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a long time since I've been in university, but I don't know what you. I mean, I guess the networking is pretty much the biggest benefit of going to university. And
is there anybody here right now who's in university?
To be honest, the only thing I would say that university would have in their favor would be like the hands-on like assistance you would get with like a professor or like grad student.
Oh yeah,
definitely.
Or shit.
But like any field you go into now, there are so many communities online, literally just with like a roster of experts above and beyond whatever fucking professor you can get in university, and like you can just learn from them and like eventually like talk with them in a VC like this as a peer.
Now, what about Sunny? I know you recently went to school. What was that experience like?
Oh God.
Paused.
I wanted to ask something, but all the Mormons are gone. So,
Sunny, how was school?
I had my mic muted. No, I'm starting school.
You're starting school.
I'm going to university. I'm not. I've never been to university.
So you don't really have any stories right now as far as how is it? Like, were you able to peer in the classes or talk to the teachers? Like, what's the energy?
No, dude, it's all online.
I see.
Yeah,
okay,
everything's transitioning online.
Every single one is on. Yeah, every single class.
That's crazy. That would be way less intimidating than my first year of university. That's for fucking sure.
Oh fuck.
The orientation was online. Like everything so far has been online.
Sounds like heaven. I was like shitting my pants orientation.
Yeah, it's actually not that bad.
Yeah, I can imagine that. I mean, you could be like outside and stuff. But
But if I may ask something,
yes.
Oh, maybe later, but I don't know. I'm kind of. I was eating dinner, so I know Jesse had to leave. But I just wanted to ask about the nature of Mormonism itself and how it squares away with like Christianity, because it seems to me that, without offending people, but I'm the epic trad cath, so who cares? Only half ironic. It seems to me that there's somewhat of like certain heretical beliefs, I would say, within the Mormon structure. Like I wanted to go into like, and you know, forgive me, Sonny, for mentioning his name, but Logo, he had this thread about how Mormonism is the quintessential American religion, even above Protestantism.
That's actually a take I would agree with that, though. I would
absolutely agree with that as well, as like a fucking, you know, through the bone pagan.
It's an ethno religion. It's very clearly like the Anglo religion.
But also the fact that it has a revelation that is predicated upon yourself becoming like God, not in the Imagio, because the Imagio is very much, I would say, a Mediterranean / Germanic / it's not Anglo so much, but whereas America is the promise of you becoming overcoming the limitations of a contextuality that was present in the old world and becoming something upon yourself. But I just, what I mean is that it seems to me, you know, I knew this Mormon girl in university, and I should have like ran away and married her, but you know, whatever at the time, like, She was really nice.
I think you dodged a bullet. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah, it would have never worked out.
Mormon,
Why did you dodge a bullet?
women are like battle axes, dude. Not in a good way.
She was a tom.
You don't grab one unless you're a barbarian.
Like,
she was
no
a tomboy,
offense.
so
yeah, exactly. No offense to the Mormons here, but like the Desnat Mormons seem cool. I'm kind of I think they're cool, but like that other guy, he was like, yeah, I think my wife's a god, and I was like jamesing because that's like every Mormon I've ever met. Every Mormon I've ever met is like that. Weird. They're like really whipped by their wives, and they're like obsessed with them, and they sort of have like the means of power and like the relationship. And that's like the biggest turn off.
Like she was into like metal, and she was a trad, but she was a tomboy. So yeah. But what I wanted to ask is, it seems to me now this comes from Corinthians 4. I know I have to do the bit where I pull out a Bible verse once in a while. Corinthians 4, 6-7. For God, who commanded the light to shine out of darkness, hath shined in our hearts to give the light of the knowledge of the glory of God in the face of Jesus Christ. But we have this treasure in earth's vessels, that the excellency of the power may be of God, but not of us. So I'm sorry to sound dramatic, but it just seems to me that the way that Mormon theology describes the relationship between God, Christ, and man, it seems to me it's almost like verging upon this, what would you say, you become a divine being upon yourself.
Well,
I don't know. I think
I get where you're headed. So
yeah. I know I'm being an asshole, but it's just
no. I think it's a fair question. I think it's rooted in maybe a misunderstanding of. Well, let me put it this way. I think it's not unto yourself in any sense, and it's not of yourself. We believe in salvation by grace, through the grace of Christ. That's how you're saved, and it's really the two verses that come to mind when I want to explain what we believe about heaven to people is, the Spirit itself beareth witness with our spirits that we're the children of God, and if children, then heirs of God, and joint heirs with Christ if we suffer with him. So that's Romans 8, 16 and 17. And so the idea of you're a child of God, what does a child grow up to be? Grows up to be like whatever it's the child of, and explicitly an heir. And then the other one is that to him that overcometh, I'll give to sit down with me in my throne, even as I'm sat down with my Father in his throne. It's not of yourself, and it's not about independence. Like, and that's what makes me think of like the American idea is sort of misplaced, because it has nothing to do with sort of rugged individualism. It's entirely it's about finding your place in a divine dynasty almost, and a gift being given to you. So I think that's misplaced. Although I think there are elements of American culture and government that exist that were ordained by God to facilitate the restoration of the gospel. And so I guess
that's where it gets up into problems in terms of, because it is very wedded to the American century, you could call it. And it does seem that Mormonism has this particular place within Americana, even more so than a lot of Protestant sects, you could say, right?
Sure.
And Sonny and Shamey, I could see the chat, okay? Listen, I do not have autism. I'm sorry. I just had to break up.
I don't think you have autism. I just mean that it's like literary autism that I'm like.
I know. But I tried to think of something. No. Anyways, sorry, I cut you off, Bennett. Sorry.
No, I understand. I don't care.
We got Jules is back, and we got our man Dan DeMar's back as well. How are you, Dan?
What up?
Good.
How are you?
Hey Dan. Hey guys.
So Dan,
Hey,
are
Joel.
you what do you think of Mormonism?
I don't really know much about it, actually. I was hoping to get educated.
Well, here now's the right now's the right time. So Shanty Man, got that stuff. Okay, so Shanty Man, how are
Yes.
you with Mormonism? What is your relationship to Mormonism?
Well, my relationship to Mormonism is I'm very much a pagan. I study a lot of like Celtic and Norse and Germanic legend and stuff. And I've been fascinated my whole life with this story of this North Sea passage connecting like Iceland, Greenland, and downwards to Canada and, you know, America and stuff. And I think this has been explored for many, many centuries, long before Columbus or Leif Erikson went there. And I think that there were lost civilizations in the Americas and stuff. And I think that Joseph Smith did discover something of those civilizations and interpreted it through a biblical lens and stuff. But much of what they talk about with regards to the Nephites and the Israelites in the Americas and the events that happened here is historical fact. So that's basically how I see it.
Yeah, like I asked I forget his name, Jesse, before. I asked him before about Mormonism and like if it was compatible with like stuff like the Rig Vedic tradition and like Zen Buddhism and Taoism, and Haas also replied to me and they were like, yeah. And I was like really surprised by that, because most like Abrahamic, or most Mormons that I've met are like crazy Abrahamic, and they just sort of like they go crazy at you if you even mention like Eastern, or what you call Eastern texts. So, but he was coming from it from sort of like a perennial, I guess, mindset where God is like found in every single tradition, Jesus Christ. And so I thought that was pretty base.
It makes me very happy to see something like that, to have people
There's
who
actually-
are open-minded about it.
There's actually a verse that I think is about Taoism in the Book of Mormon. And this is a father explaining to his son kind of the beginning of the world to the end, kind of. But in this verse, it's 2 Nephi chapter 2, verse 11, says that, for it must needs be that there is an opposition in all things. If not so, righteousness could not be brought to pass, neither wickedness, neither holiness, nor misery, nor good, nor bad. So it's kind of like the yin yang right there in the Book of Mormon.
But as far as cyclical history goes, this is where you guys would differ from, let's say, Cowboy and Sonny. You see the end of a cycle as being, that's it, no more coming back to this world. It's going to be eternal life from now on. Would that be fair to say?
Well, but it's still
That's a state you can attain of transcendence.
It's a marriage of
you can
cyclicality
attain,
and
yeah.
Go ahead.
Because
Like,
you play a
transcendence is
different
something
part
you can
each
attain
phase of
in
the cycle.
esotericism. You can go above like reincarnating, like you can incarnate as something higher and still involve yourself with Earth. But like, I mean, that's not something that's going to happen to the vast majority of people ever.
Well,
that's the way I see it.
That's the whole idea with like Buddha, for example, the Bodhisattva.
Buddha, Christ, those are two people I would say that definitely did do that.
Interesting. So would there be, let's say, then room in Mormonism to acknowledge that Buddha was able to, that Buddha in that way is Christ, in that the state that he was able to get to would be indistinguishable and would be pretty much the same thing as was experienced by, or what was Christ?
So I think what there is room to say is that that revelations received by spiritual leaders or other traditions were genuine, but not that Buddha and Christ attained the same thing or were the same thing. Because I mean, with Christ, it wasn't even necessarily something that he attained by suffering. He was already God, and I mean, so I think when someone says that Buddha received enlightenment, I think that's probably accurate. But whether that's the last stop, or that's what God is, or that's what the final destiny of man is, I would say no.
Well, this brings me to asking Cowboy and anybody else who wants to participate as well about the nature of avatars. Like, I remember we were talking before about during whatever we're going through right now, there would be maybe several people who would be in line to possibly be like the next Messiah. Or in the case of an avatar, somebody coming down from up above or whatever and being a representation or being the actual God made flesh. So, Aryan Cowboy, I'm curious if I got that right and how you could expand on that.
Wait,
yeah, I mean, I believe that there's. Oh, go ahead, Sonny. I'll let Sonny go first.
Can I really quickly? I just want to say about the Mormonism thing. I didn't have a chance to talk about this, but this sort of might help play into what you're talking about right here. There's a prophecy in Mormonism called the White Horse Prophecy, and it's essentially like when America is at its grips, there will be a savior, and he'll come on a white horse. And some people say it's Jesus Christ. Some people say it's other stuff. I don't really know. Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, but that's the thing. That's what I'm going to say is that Kalki literally means verbatim, etymologically, white horse. So I just think that's like a really huge connection that gets constantly overlooked because the white horse connection came out of nowhere. I genuinely, there's no way that the people who came up with the white horse prophecy had fucking any idea about Hinduism. They hadn't even translated the fucking Rig Vedas. Like Mueller hadn't done any of that shit. Griffin hadn't done any of that shit. So there's no way any of them would have known about that. There's no connection there. So I just want to make that clear that there's like a very clear contingent here. That's all.
Is that also
some people call it the White Hoss prophecy? No, I'm just kidding. But anyway, I actually have to take off. But thanks, guys. Check out the Weekly Hoss on YouTube, at Neos Diod on Twitter.
Weekly Hoss, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, man.
Take care. Love the flag on you all.
Thank you.
And everybody, don't forget to subscribe and click that bell. As always, subscribe. Uchitsa, uchitsa, uchitsa. So, by the way,
we're doing dinner.
What did that mean?
That means learn, and learn, like the great Lenin said. Now, is that connected, by the way, to Behold a Pale Horse, or is the Pale Horse a different horse of like one of the horsemen of the apocalypse?
I've seen a lot of people make a lot of arguments to this. Technically, the etymology behind pale horse would more likely be green, which doesn't really make any sense. But that's what the Greek is. It means like it can mean pale and it can mean green, but it doesn't explicitly mean white. But in regards to the Mormon prophecy, it explicitly means white. And so
the thing is 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. There's a white horse and a pale horse.
Yeah, I know.
So right. So what I'm saying is it's different. And because pale horse is like sickly. It's like famine.
That doesn't necessarily mean that the Mormons understood that though. I mean, because things change.
I thought of like
a
sickly, translucent gray horse when I hear pale.
Yeah, me too, though.
Although it looks like a pretty nice horse on the cover of that book that I'm gonna post right now by Bill Cooper. I'm sure you guys have heard of Bill Cooper.
We'll say I like the beehive symbolism in Mormonism. Bees underrated.
Yeah, I like bees too. But when it comes to the avatars and all that, Cowboy or Sonny or whoever wants to talk about it, I'm just curious, how would you differentiate those avatars from someone like Jesus Christ?
Well, the thing is that like the system is so impenetrable because it's infinite. So all we have to go off on is people that can project up and down or whatever, and it's just so difficult to systematize something like that. And so we have to rely on tokens and symbols when we talk about stuff like that. But I definitely do think that there are avatars, and I think that there are ways for humans to reincarnate in the Deva realms or the God realms or Valhalla or whatever, and come back and go to various planes and arrive back on Earth, reincarnating however many years later in our time.
Like the 10,000.
I unironically believe everyone who's incarnated now and is aware of what's going on did something in a past life to earn that.
I agree. I
agree.
What do you mean by aware of what's going on?
Well, basically, aware of the spiritual things that are going on, that are coming loose, that are fucking, what the government's doing, dharma, fucking, I don't know how you could sum it all up.
No, that's a pretty good summation.
Yeah.
The reason why I'm asking is that there are a lot of Q boomers today who are also aware, but that just comes from all the social media posts they keep getting, which leads them to, you know what I mean? Like, it's open season now, so I guess that's why.
That's like the host. That's the
MS
host.
Paint with red arrows. Yeah.
That's the
You
what?
can have QAnon being the host of heaven. Like you can reasonably surround them in that meme. Like you don't have to arrive at the conclusions yourself. Like that's like a Brahmin thing, right? But you can still have your warriors. You can still have your host. You can still have people who know something because they're following the right person, right? Because that's a reward. And so when you reincarnate by following those people, you're going to get the benefit of following those holy people, right? You're going to get the knowledge. You're going to reincarnate into that somehow. Like maybe not in this life. Maybe there's some kind of realistic limitation that stops you from achieving that on your own. But if you're to the point where you're following the right people, you're already in the camp, right? It doesn't matter. You don't have to arrive at it yourself.
Well,
I didn't understand a lot of that.
What do you mean? Like what in particular didn't you understand?
How I would be able to receive that advice and follow it myself.
Well, I mean, you're here.
Yeah, you're in a conversation.
Yeah. You're talking with 3 seers, man. What do you think?
I mean, when it comes to somebody like Q, to think of Q as a host of heaven, you know, I think most people would think of Q as just being like this weird, hokey conspiracy thing that gets a lot of boomers riled up because they lack romanticism in their life. But it does attach them.
Probably a psyop.
Q's army are the barbarians that will sack this Babylon.